Hey guys, Jaybird here. We're going to be starting a new tutorial today, and this one's going to be covering weapon porting. So this is going to be the first part in a few videos. I'm going to break this up into a few videos because this is going to be a long process. But basically today, the first thing I'm going to go over is setting up our rig in Maya for the weapon. And then after that, we're going to go into importing our animations and setting up the rig so that we can quickly do animations one after the other, and I will lastly be going over how to export them and the different formats that you'll have to go over for that. Alright guys, let's jump in it. Okay guys, so let's jump into it. So basically, what I've done so far is just exported the models from Black Ops 2. So I'm going to be doing the Galil. Basically, since this is a Black Ops 2 version of the Galil, the magazine is in a separate actual Maya file, so it's not included in the weapon. So what we can do is actually just drag that on so that it makes it a bit easier for us. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump into Maya. So we'll load that up. So I'll make sure that I'm actually loading the correct model here. So we're starting off with the view model. The view model is the harder part. The weapon model is a little bit easier. Actually, it's quite a bit easier. So right away, you'll notice I have the Galil. I'll have some joints and whatnot. So what I'm doing here is basically just clicking on this little side box here to bring up the outliner. So this kind of goes over the different groups in the scene. So right now what we have is basically the Galil here, the meshes of the Galil, which are like the different pieces. You can see the green parts that get highlighted for the different meshes. And then we also have joints, which go over basically the different parts of the gun. So we have the bolt as one of them, and these are the things that actually get the animations played on them as the joints, and the joints apply that to the mesh. So basically the only thing that seems to move in this would be the bolt, but we're going to be dragging on our magazine as well. So what I'm going to do is go to the view model for the magazine, and I'm just going to drag this on to here. And you'll notice it's not lined up very well. So what I'm going to do is start off, I'm just going to get rid of the namespace at the front here. So I'm just going to go over to it, double click on this, and then just change the name so it's tag clip. And I'll do the same to the one underneath it as well. It's not necessary, but I don't like the look of it, so I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is select the highest most joint on the magazine and come over to the J gun. So I'm going to middle mouse, hold it down, and drag it up onto J gun. So that's going to place it underneath J gun. So you'll see how the hierarchy comes down and its tag clip is under that. So I can get rid of this joints one here. And I'm actually going to do the same thing with the mesh for the magazine. I'm going to drag that and put it under the mesh for this one so it's all together. So what I have here is I'm gonna have to eyeball this a bit, and you'll notice that I'm actually got an X up orientation here. So I'm just gonna really quickly create a new camera here. So I'm gonna go panels perspective new, and there we go. We've got our perspective camera kind of set up a bit better here. So I'm gonna have to eyeball this a bit to kind of get it into place. But what I'm gonna do is, since the clips tag is back here and all of our mesh is back here as well, what I'm going to do is select all the parts of the magazine and I'm going to bind it to this tag clip. So I'm going to click on this, control click on this, and then control click on the tag for the clip. Doesn't matter about the order as long as it's all selected and one joint. I'm going to go over to the tab at the top here and select animation, and then do rigging, and then we're going to go skin and then bind skin. So just click on that and you'll notice it goes pink, and when we highlight the clip, and if I click W, you'll get the move tool to pop up, and you can drag this around. You'll notice it's actually moving the mesh now. But now we're going to want to do the same thing to the bullet here as well, which was this middle one. Bullet, skin, bind smooth. So what I'm going to want to do is, just so I can get a better perspective on this, I'm going to go to orthographic, and we'll just try to pick one of these to see if I can get a better side view, if it lets me. It's not the side I want to see, top. It's upside down, but hey, I can still line it up a bit better. So I'm going to take tag clip, and I'm just going to move it forward till about here, I would say. I'm going to go back to our perspective view. Basically, it's going to come somewhere around there. The animations will fix the rest of it, so it shouldn't be too bad. So we got that. Our tag clip's in the right position now. The last thing that I'm going to want to do is to bind the rest of the gun. What you can do is when you export the model, it comes with a mel file, a .mel, which says bind. So I'm going to drag this, actually this is the magazine one, I want to go back to the view model. I'm going to drag this one onto the scene, and you'll notice it bound everything perfectly for me. So the J-gun's got everything. The bolt should only move the bolt, which it does. Tag brass is where the shell eject effect is going to come out. Actually, I'm going to just do this so you can actually see the model a bit better. But yeah, so this is where the shell eject effect is going to come out, tag brass. Tag flash is where the muzzle flash effect is going to play, and the bullet is going to spawn from there as well. Tag rail was literally just this rail. The sights are if you want to remove the sights to put an attachment on for like a red dot or something. And then we have our clip that we did and our bullet. So there we go. That's the first step down. What I'm going to want you to do from here is we're going to save this, and I'm going to just save it over the existing one because I don't really care what happens to the existing one. I'm using a student version, so you just hit continue if you're using a student version of Maya. Before we quit out of this, I'm going to go to, this is Aiden's tool at the top, Call of Duty Tools. We're going to export the model, but first I'm going to change J-gun to tag weapon. So make sure that when you saved it, it was still J-gun. But now that we're going to export, we're going to change it to tag weapon. So now, what you're going to want to do is select the top group for your meshes and your joints group, and we're going to go to select hierarchy, so it selects everything. And then we're going to change the path here. And I'm going to I have a folder on my desktop that I'm just going to use for exporting everything. So for this one, we're going to call this view model Galil. So I'm just going to hit export selected, and I'm not going to save it because we want our other one to have the J-gun saved into that. So I can actually close this now. I'm not going to save because I don't want the tag weapon to be included in that. So this version has J-gun, not tag weapon. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to want you to do is in the description I'll have the download for this, but it's going to be a conversion kit, which was by Azuri. So I'm going to want you guys to go download that. It's going to be from ModMe, so I will leave a link in the description for this download. But basically, it's going to be called Conversion Rig. So once you've got that downloaded, you're going to want to open that up in Maya. So we'll let that open. I'm just going to keep my conversion folder over to the other monitor here because I'm going to need it in a second. So what we're going to do is with our Maya file that has J-gun, remember, not tag weapon. Tag weapon's in the final version, the exported version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that on. So we'll go and drag this onto here. So you'll notice, the textures are a little weird. So if you want to fix that, you can go to Windows, go to Render, Editors, and go to Hypershade. If you're on a different version of Maya, it might be under something else, but just make sure you go under Hypershade. What we're going to want to find is all the Galil stuff. So I'm going to middle mouse on the Galil textures and go click on Transparency. We'll just go through all these ones and fix the transparency on it. And that should be good. So now we got the Galil in there with textures. Okay, so everything's rigged. We just need to join our weapon rig to the view arms rig. So we're gonna bring up the outliner like before, and I'm actually gonna get rid of this perspective camera that we created for the Galil here. But I'm gonna open up the joints one. I'm gonna just ignore the namespace stuff because it would take too long to get rid of it all. But what I'm going to do is go into tag torso and find tag weapon right. Make sure you're under the T7 one, not the joints one. So T7 joints, go all the way down to tag weapon right. And you're going to want to middle mouse drag your J-gun one onto tag weapon right. you'll see it's underneath it now. It's going to have the namespace, colon, and then the name of the tag. So everything after the colon is red, so it won't really read anything before the colon, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So I'm going to get rid of the joints one here because we've already got it in there. So the last thing you're going to want to do is zero out the transformation of the gun. So you select the J gun, come up to the side here. If you don't have this up here, what you're going to want to do is just select this one here until it comes to this channel box layer editor, and you're going to want to make sure you have J gun selected and just turn this to all to 0, except for the scale. Scale needs to be 1. So you'll see the gun is now in the middle of the hands there, and there's going to be one last thing before we save this. So I'm going to want you to select joints, or T7 colon joints, and then select hierarchy. So it's going to select everything under that. So now with the folder that I still had open, in the download it's going to have a folder called scripts, and there's going to be a rename rig.mel. So you're going to want to drag that on, and it's probably going to error the first time that you drag it on. I'm not sure why it does that, but when you drag it on the second time, you'll notice it added underscore T7 to everything, except for your J gun, which is fine. We don't want that to have the T7 stuff on it. Alright, so now that that's done, what we're going to do is we're just going to save this, and I'm going to save it to my Galil folder here, and I'll just call this Galil rig. You can call it whatever you want. Hit continue, and there we go. So now it's set up in a position where we can drag an anim on to really quickly go through the anims, or else you're going to have to do this step over and over again. So I highly suggest you save at this point so that we can drag anims on really quickly. Okay, so what I have here is I've opened up Lemon. So if you guys don't know how to export anims from Black Ops 2, what you're going to want to do is download a program called Lemon. It's also from Tom BMX, so I'll have the link in the description for this program as well. If you're using Black Ops 1 weapons, you can actually just download the mod tools for Black Ops 1, and it will include the X-anims in there. But if you get the X-anims, you're going to want them in a T-anim format, so you're probably going to have to download basically Tom's X-anim converter, which would convert it to T-anims when you drag it onto it. Or you could use Lemon on it as well on Black Ops 1. Either way, however you want to get the anims, as long as you get T-anims, you're good. So basically I'm just going to search for the Galil anims right now, and I'm just going to copy all the Galil anims and put that into my Galil folder. I'm just going to call this T-anim. Put that into there. So we got all our T-anims in here. So I'm going to go back to, I'm just get rid of the output window, back to our rig that we're not going to save again at this point. We're going to keep it at this point and never save this file again. Just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start off with the idle. So you take once you have your Tom BMX plugins installed, the T-anims will be able to just drag on. So what you can do is just drag this on, and you'll notice our idle anim is set. And if you want to see what this might look like in game, we have 65 FOV and 90 FOV here. So that's what it might look like with 90 FOV, what it might look like, or 65, and this might be what it looks like with 90. It's kind of a rough estimate. It's not perfect. But yeah. So now, before we get to exporting the anims, what we're going to want to do is, give me a second here while I bring back the conversion folder. So basically, go back to the scripts, and you'll notice there was that second script in there. So we're going to do the exact opposite this time. So we're going to get rid of the T7 stuff. So what I'm going to do is, and the reason why we wanted this T7 stuff is we want the anims to be playing on these joints, even though we're not going to be exporting it from there. We're exporting it from the Black Ops 3 joints. So I'm going to just go select joints T7, select hierarchy, and then with remove namespace.mil, I'm going to drag that on. Same idea, if it does do the error thing, just drag it on again and it should work. So you'll notice all the T7s are gone now. So we're going to go to Aiden's tools again, and we're going to go export X-anim. So what we have is an anim going from 0 to 3. So we're going to change this to 0 to 3 frames. We're going to keep it at 30 FPS. I don't do my note tracks in here. I'll show you how I do note tracks once we get into APE later on, so you can leave this blank unless you know what you're doing and you feel like doing it in here. Note tracks, by the way, are for sounds, for which frame the sound should play on. So I'm going to create a new folder in my Galil folder here, and I'm going to call this anims. So this one is going to be view model Galil idle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you basically two types of animations that you're going to export. The first type is a basic animation, which is the same as idle, fire, pull out, any of those types of anims. The other type is a special type, which is only for ADS anims, but that does not include ADS fire, only ADS up and ADS down. So we'll go over the basic ones first, which is idle and all those other ones. So what I'm going to do is select tag torso and then tag cam bone. So make sure you're selecting the T7 versions, not the ones under joints. So T7 tag torso and T7 tag cam bone. I'm going to go select hierarchy. So it selects all the ones in there. And then what I'm going to do is, if you want to, you can change, actually before we do that, you could change this to tag weapon right now, but I'm going to show you a method where I change it in a text editor after. So I'm going to select tag torso, tag cam bone, select hierarchy, and then I'm going to export selected. And don't save it because we want it to keep the save point that we were at before. And I'll show you why in a second here. So what we have is in our anims folder, we have our idle anim. So say I wanted to go right back to where I was before. I'm going to go back one and open up the Galil rig. I'm not going to save it. And you'll notice once it's done loading, we're right back at the step where we're dragging the animation on. So that makes it a lot quicker. So I'm going to go back to T-anims. So here's the thing. Now, if you're going to do any of these anims, so that's going to be ADS fire, crawl, all this crawl stuff, dive to prone, idle, all of this stuff, you do the method that we just did for the idle. Exact same method for exporting. I'm going to show you how to, so just keep in mind when you're doing all those, I'm not going to go through every single one because it's the exact same step over and over again. But what I'm going to do is show you how to do the ADS anims now. So this will be the same for ADS up and ADS down. So what I like to do is I drag the idle animation on first, and then I'll drag on ADS up, and you'll notice, because what happens is ADS up it only applies to the tag torso, it doesn't look proper, but it does work. So what you're going to want to do is the same thing as before. We'll go back to our perspective. You're going to want to open up the joints. Actually, you're going to want to select the joints, and you want to go select hierarchy, and we're going to go back to the scripts and do remove namespace. So that's, you only drag the script on when you're done putting the anim on. So we've got the anim on here, and now I'm going to show you how to export an ADS anim. So this is ADS up and ADS down only. Okay, so we're going to select tag view and tag torso, and that's it. Don't do select hierarchy. You're going to go export X anim, and we're going to do 0 to 18. And then I'm going to go and export it to anims, view model, Galil, ADS up. And we're going to hit export selected and don't save. So there we go, guys. That's the animation portion of this tutorial. So I'm going to be going over really quickly how to do the APE step in a second here. But basically, what you're going to want to do is just follow through and just repeat this step over and over again until you've done all the anims. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and just converted all those animations in Maya and exported them all. So this is kind of where I've been putting them in the anims folder here. So we started off with the idle anim, and then we did the ADS up. But remember, just to clarify, ADS up and ADS down are separately done compared to everything else. ADS fire is included with all these ones, not with the other ADS anims. So just keep that in mind when you're doing them. Okay. So next up, since we're doing this in the method that I'm doing, if you changed JGun to tag weapon before converting the anims, you're okay to skip this step, but I like to do it really quickly in a text editor. So what you can do is, I'm going to start off with, you don't need to do this for the ADS up or ADS down anims because they don't have JGun in it, but you just want to open this up in a text editor. I'm going to use Notepad++ because I can use the find and replace function, but you can do this in Notepad, you can do this in Sublime, whatever you feel is best for you. So what we're going to do is you're going to search it for JGun, and you're just going to want to try to replace all of the JGun parts with tag weapon. So you could do this by hand, but I'm going to just go find and replace put in JGun, put in tag weapon, and I'm gonna go, oh, actually not find in files, we're gonna go to find, or replace here, JGun, tag weapon, and then replace all. So it replaced one, I'm gonna save that, and then I'm gonna move on to the next one. So I'm just gonna really quickly, you just go through, and then once you've got it set up in Notepad++, you can just go replace all, save, next, and just keep going through like this. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this part of the tutorial. We're going to be covering how to do the stuff in APE next time. So that will be covering how to set up the animations, how to set up the weapon file, and set up our models, although I suggest you watch my models tutorial as well as my materials tutorial to properly set up your models and materials for your weapon. Alright guys, don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.